Let me tell you a terrifying story. You're on a flight 35,000 feet in the air, sipping coffee, listening to music over your earphones, when suddenly, a hunk of metal the size of a baseball rips through the plane like a bullet from space. No warning, no escape. Just a silent demise falling from the sky at 17,000 miles per hour. Sounds like a disaster movie? Perhaps, but it's also a very real scenario, and this should be a wake-up call. Right now, Earth is being surrounded by thousands of pieces of space junk like non-functioning satellites, rocket parts, or orbital shrapnel. Most burn up, some don't, and aviation experts warn, it's only a matter of time before one of them punches a hole in a plane full of passengers. Think the sky is empty once you're above the clouds? Of course not. In fact, it's busier than ever, from both above and below. Every day, around 100,000 flights crisscross the globe. At the same time, thousands of satellites, old rocket stages, and debris fragments are zipping through space just a few hundred miles above your head. We've basically turned low Earth orbit into a junkyard, and commercial planes are flying just beneath it. It's like cruising down the highway while someone dumps metal scraps from a bridge overhead. It might miss you, until it doesn't. So what exactly is all this flying trash? It's called space junk. Basically, all the stuff we once shot into orbit that's now just floating uselessly around up there, drifting, waiting to lose enough speed to come back to Earth. Think non-functioning satellites, spent rocket boosters, metal fragments from past missions, and the occasional wrench or bolt lost during a spacewalk. Right now, researchers say there are over 2,300 rocket bodies still circling our planet, and that's just the big stuff. In total, we're tracking tens of thousands of objects larger than 4 inches, and possibly millions of tiny pieces too small to see, but large enough to cause serious damage. Here's the scary bit. This junk zips around Earth at the speed of 17,000 miles per hour. That's fast enough to turn even a paint chip into a flying projectile. A piece the size of a coin could pierce a spacecraft or an airplane like paper. Most junk burns up in a fiery goodbye, but sometimes a stubborn chunk survives the fall. So far, no commercial airplane has been struck by falling space debris. Lucky us, or lucky you. I don't fly that often, but luck doesn't last forever. There have already been plenty of close calls. Large chunks of junk have survived re-entry and crash-landed on Earth, sometimes near homes, farms, or even highways. In one case, a pressurized metal fuel tank from a rocket landed in Texas. In another, a long metal panel dropped into a remote field in Australia. In 2022, the situation became super serious for a few hours. Spain and France temporarily shut down parts of their airspace due to an uncontrolled re-entry of a Chinese rocket. Over 600 flights were delayed because no one could be certain where that chunk of metal might fall. That was the first time in history that air travel was interrupted because of space debris. And if current trends continue, it probably won't be the last. Now, picture that over the US on a holiday weekend. Jam-packed airports, thousands of flights, and suddenly, sorry folks, we might have some heat-resistant screws coming from space. Flights will be resumed soon. The problem is that re-entries can't always be predicted with pinpoint accuracy. Agencies often get just a few hours' notice, and the impact zone could stretch across hundreds of miles. So, aviation officials face a tough choice. Close huge chunks of airspace, or roll the dice with thousands of passengers in the sky. According to recent research, some of the world's busiest airspaces already face a 26% annual chance of being affected by an uncontrolled re-entry. That's more than 1 in 4. And not because anyone's being reckless, it's just because the numbers are exploding. Over the past decade, the number of objects in low Earth orbit has doubled. And here's the real danger. The more crowded space becomes, the higher the chance that debris collides with more debris, creating even more debris. It's called Kessler syndrome, a kind of orbital domino effect where one collision triggers another, and another, until entire orbits become unusable. And with companies like SpaceX and national space agencies launching more and more stuff into space, we could be setting the stage for exactly that. Meanwhile, back on Earth, we're flying more than ever. Commercial air traffic has more than doubled since 2000. That means more people in the air, more planes in flight paths, and more chances for a tragic overlap between something falling and something flying. And when that moment comes, there may be no warning. And if that moment ever comes, we probably wouldn't even see it. I mean, before it hits the news. Even with all our fancy satellites, spotting a tiny metal thing dropping out of orbit is nearly impossible. But again, most debris doesn't make it to the ground. As these objects plummet through Earth's atmosphere, the intense heat from re-entry usually causes them to burn up completely. That's especially true for smaller or lightweight pieces like aluminum fragments or insulation. Also, even when stuff does survive re-entry, a mid-air collision with a plane is extremely rare. Planes cruise at 35,000 feet, while falling space junk comes screaming down from hundreds of miles up, whizzing past that height in seconds. The chances of a plane being in the exact spot at the exact time are incredibly slim. It's like tossing a dart from space and trying to hit a mosquito flying across a football field, while blindfolded. The timing, the alignment, the odds? Practically zero. But with more darts and more mosquitoes? That's why experts are still worried. The amount of space junk is growing fast. More stuff falling means more chances for something to go wrong. And while the odds of a direct strike remain low, the risk of aerospace disruption is very real. So, can't we just clean it up? You'd think that with all our high-tech satellites, space stations, and reusable rockets, someone would have invented a cosmic vacuum cleaner by now. But space cleanup is way more complicated than it sounds. For one, the junk is moving fast. Snagging this stuff is like trying to catch bullets while being strapped to a rocket yourself. There's also the size problem. Some pieces are too small to track, and others are too big to ignore. Plus, no one can agree whose job it is to clean up the mess. If a country launches a satellite that later breaks apart and becomes debris, is it their job to retrieve it? So far, no one really knows. Okay, when said like that, it sounds impossible even to me, but I have faith in scientists. However, it's not all bad news. The European Space Agency is pushing for a zero-debris policy for future missions. They want every satellite and rocket launched to have a built-in plan for getting out of orbit safely. Meanwhile, scientists are working on robotic grippers, basically giant space claws that could one day grab junk and fling it into a controlled burn in Earth's atmosphere. This goes to show that the problem is understood, and while difficult, the cleanup is not impossible, if we address it in time. The sooner we start taking it seriously, the better the odds that your next flight stays boring and uneventful. You know, the way flights are supposed to be. Unless you sit by the window, then it's breathtaking and awe-inspiring. So the next time you're staring out your airplane window at 35,000 feet, relax. You're more likely to spill your coffee than get hit by space junk, or upgraded to first class by accident. Scientists, engineers, and even robot claws are already on the case. Space might be messy now, but we've cleaned up bigger messes before. And with the right moves, we can keep the skies safe for everyone. And who knows? Maybe in a few decades, you'll be booking a window seat for a flight out into space. Just make sure it comes with asteroid or junk insurance.
That's it for today. So hey, if you pacified your curiosity, then give the video a like and share it with your friends. Or if you want more, just click on these videos and stay on the bright side.